Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Let Me Talk to My Customer. I'm your host, Chad Counts, along with my co-host, Richard Tyler. Rich, how are we doing today?
Doing great. How are you, Chad?
Can't complain. We're doing well out here, slowly being released back into the population out here in California. Wanted to let everybody know off the top here, we are going to be having a closing sales series starting May 13th next month. I believe last time we did a 7 or 7:30 a.m. start time in each time zone, and we'll probably look to do something similar as well. So wherever you're at in North America, well, I should say in the United States, time zones. I don't know if I can commit to 7:30 a.m. in Newfoundland, but we'll see. But we will have that available for each company. If you'd like to have somebody on a 7:30 a.m. call or 7 a.m. call in another time zone, that's fine. We can be flexible, and also as we hear back from interested parties, we may move times or offer multiple times on different days or different things like that. But the target is going to be May 13th and at least have at 7 a.m. time slot in every time zone for you all who desire it that way. That way, if it's a full team training, which we did in the past, that way everybody can be there, everyone can participate. And so, yeah, be on the lookout for more information. We'll be posting advertising and putting that out there. So, again, if you would like or subscribe to the podcast, leave a review on iTunes. That would be great. We have our links to be able to find us on our different social media platforms in the comments below or description of the episode. So please take a minute and follow up with us there. If you have anything that you need, we'd be happy to hear from you. We've got a great episode for you this week. We're really excited about it. We're going to be talking about lying, right? Who doesn't talking about lying these days? And top 4 lies that salespeople tell. Many times we find ourselves in different positions. We've listened to a lot of calls, and this is pretty commonplace, whether a good company, bad company, anywhere in between. Most counters have some element of fibbing going on, even if it's white lies. There's that little bit that comes with it. So I think this is something that hopefully will resonate or impact most counters, and you can either maybe gain some insight in recognizing what would be happening, what could be happening, understanding the motivation behind it for most salespeople, and being able to walk them past using this as a crutch to sell parts, right? So
I just want to say, this is something that came up for me recently. And like you said, it's present on most counters. It's not just new salespeople, it's experience.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. This runs the gamut. This runs the gamut for sure. So this is a fun one. I think there's, we'll unpack it here. We'll get into it here for you all. So hopefully you enjoy it. So,
okay. So Chad, why are salespeople lying? Why are they telling their customer fibs?
Well, I think this happens in a number of different forums. It's not just limited to auto parts or anything like that. I believe, and I don't know if it's got its origin somewhere. I don't know if there was somebody who wrote a book on this and was moving towards this, but to me, I see lying from salespeople as delaying an unpleasant truth for their customer. They're trying to get their customer committed superficially to elements of a deal, and whether that's buying a vehicle, whether that's buying a TV, whether that's buying auto parts, there's something about it that feels like they are worried about this being an objection. And so they're trying to cover their tracks and get you as interested as possible, so that when they bring out the fact that this component, that doesn't come with batteries, or that doesn't come with a warranty, or that doesn't come with this, that, or the other, that you're already stuck, you're already in it, and you feel like you can't back away from it. One of the areas I look at this is that almost everybody has experienced, anybody who's flown, is the airline lie of the 30-minute delays. I don't care what airline you've been on. I don't care what the repair is or what's going on. It's always 30 minutes. It's always 30 minutes.
And then 30 minutes later, after they make the first announcement,
then it's still
another 30 minutes.
Yeah, it's like boiling a frog. They're just trying to keep you, they know you're going to be disappointed or upset, but they're trying to keep it flat enough that it doesn't blow up or destroy it. To me, as a consumer, I don't like that they think so little of me that I can't think through it or can't understand it. I don't, it doesn't elevate the relationship in my eyes. And more than anything, especially on the airline front, it's more like, well, do I have a choice? Like if I go from American to Delta, they're just going to lie to me. If I go from Delta to United, they're going to lie to me. So, if there was somebody that was like, hey, actually, typically this takes an hour to repair, what have you, they've got their different motivations, but I would at least respect that. Would that make me change airlines? I think that's the big question.
Right.
And so we don't really know that, but that's how I see a lot of motivation for lying. And that's fairly general, and I think applies to most sales environments. How about you? How do you typically see the motivation for lying for most salespeople, Rich?
Yeah, I mean, I would agree with you. It's to avoid an uncomfortable detail about something that's going to happen in the sales process. I also don't ever think it comes from a malicious kind of reason why they're doing it. Obviously, all the salespeople that we work with have a genuine desire to move the sale forward. I feel like a lot of times they think, oh, if I just tell them this, then they're going to be more likely to buy from me, So
I'd say maybe 5% of salespeople that I've seen do it with no remorse, right? Like they don't even care. They'll tell you whatever to get your money. They're shysters and slick, but that's not the majority of the people that we're talking.
No, definitely not. No, for sure. And so I guess to kind of run with your airline example, let me go ahead and get into what one of these lies is that I think we come across
for sure
all the time. And that is
four.
Go ahead.
We got four that we're going to unpack for you here. Let's go ahead and jump into it.
Yeah. So I feel like one of the most common is the time lie. And just like the airline company, it's going to be 30 more minutes. It's going to be 30 more minutes. That from the get-go, we tell the customer, I can have that to you in 2 business days. When really and truly we know we're looking at either how long our dismantle's backed up, or we're looking at how far away it is to broker this part in. Really, we know it's going to be more than 2 days. Like maybe it's going to be something like 4 days.
Yeah. To me, this is a maybe in case of emergency break glass sort of lie. In our industry, there's too much competition. You cannot get away with this lie over and over and over again to the same customer. It just can't happen. They've got too many other options, too many other places that they can go. This isn't the airline industry where everybody's going to do the exact same. And while this might be a common lie that we hear often and across experience levels or different things like that, there are salespeople that do not make this mistake. There is the maxim of, under promise, over deliver. And this is the opposite. This is over promising and under delivering, which is not at all what we want. And that might work in a transactional relationship where you get something and that gets a sale and gets the job done. But if this is going to be repeat business and something I can grow with, you will always fall short. You will always cap your ceiling. You're going to burn through customers. You're not going to be able to keep them happy. Mm-hmm. You're going to have credits and returns that come back your way. Lots of canceled work orders. If on the flip side, you constantly are under promising and over delivering, you earn that goodwill, you earn that trust. And so then when you need to buy some time and you happen to not come across it, that is the exception and that is not the rule. And that lets you stand out. Also, it to me, like if you're working with a wholesale shop, it gives them honor and confidence and service to allow them to say, hey, now you can communicate to your customer, right? Like constantly putting me in the fire by lying to me about time is going to burn you. It will catch up to you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I think that one is the first one that we hear most frequently. One that goes hand in hand with that one, that are best friends, is, yeah, I've got one here. I've got one here, when in fact you don't have one there.
Yeah.
And that is a lie that we hear all the time. And I think salespeople think they can get away with it because it's, again, a little white lie, and it happens so quickly in the conversation that they feel a lot of times like, oh, well, they're not going to buy it from me unless I do have it.
Yeah. And I think a different, maybe it's reverse, it's slightly different, but I have one in my other store. That's not your other store. I mean, there's a handful of companies that are, multiple sites and that sort of stuff. And, they can say it's at my other location or something like that. And truthfully, neither of these are necessary. The statement, I have one here, it's in my other store, none of that matters. Nope. Just say, we have one available, it's $800.
Right.
800, or just say it's $800. I mean, there's no value added in it's here, right? There's not some sort of magic dust you sprinkle on, or maybe you do, on your parts to make it sell. But yeah, they're calling for a part. They have something that they need. Just make the offer. You don't have to emphasize it one way or the other. The only thing you could run into there is, okay, I'm going to come in and pick it up this afternoon. Well, hold on just a minute. Then you're having to backpedal and cover other things. If you say you have one available, take payment, let them know when it'll be ready. You'll call them when it's ready, email them when it's ready. However you handle the order fulfillment side, that's a better experience. I think I don't know if this one comes out of just trying to shift out of an old habit, and you just can't. Or there's something in your head about, if it's here, it's better than if it's somewhere.
Right, exactly. I think that's a big part of it as well, because I think a lot of the people that we work with have the opinion that the stuff that's at their yard is the best and everything else is bad.
Yeah.
So it could absolutely grow out of that for sure.
Yeah.
Going on to the next one that I hear quite a little bit, unfortunately, and I feel like this one might be the most nefarious of the lies, and that is the lie about quality. Like, yeah, this unit has 120,000 on it, when really it has 150,000 on it. And you and I were talking about this the other day. Can you tell us a little bit more about why that could be like really bad?
Well, there was something, I'm trying to remember the specifics. I know at least recently there was a company that made the news. I think they're a brokering company or something like that, mispromising, misdelivering. And there's potentially, depending on your state or depending on how you said it, there's some liability issues here. When you're telling somebody it's got 100,000 miles and it's got 150 or it's got 180, misrepresenting and lying the actual quality of the product and everything like that, especially when it's a mechanical unit and that goes to life and that goes to safety and things like that, you're running a big risk.
Now, I will say normally when we catch salespeople doing this, maybe it's just 5,000, 10,000 miles. Usually they're not lying about 50,000 miles. But
if it's beyond a rounding error, right, or a rounding embellishment, it's 154, you say it's 150. That's fine. I don't think within a year, 10, 12,000 miles, that's relative. But honestly, it should be, to me, within the nearest 10.
Sure.
So yeah, you got to be careful. And let me unpack a little bit of something here too, because there is a difference in how we do body parts, right? So in terms of your crash parts and collision parts, I always prefer companies to price them perfectly. You know, I want them to say, this is how we would price this part if this was brand new. We might have in the comments or notes that there is some damage. I don't like to list damage in the comments because I want the call, I want the interaction. But in the notes, the salesperson should be informing the customer of what's going on here and letting them know. The reason being there is if we price things with damage and that's reflected in the price, then when it gets there, we still may end up having to provide cleanup time or other things like that. If we price it perfectly, they get a better markup, we get a better price, and we have that room built in to cover them on it, right? It's more of the other side of it is it's harder to deliver. It tends to get damaged more in transit. So even if I promise you a certain condition at the point of sale, the condition it arrives in may still be a little bit different, right? Maybe a little bit off. So there's always more of that nature with soft parts like that, crash parts, that the condition is fluid. It is subject to change a little bit more, whereas mechanical, to the best, and this is the other side, it's to the best of our knowledge. None of us know exactly how many miles are on that unit. Right. This could be a second part already. There could be other things that have been to this vehicle. And so to the best of our records, to the best of what we can know, that's what it is presented as. So I see no reason to lie here. There's been so few times where I've seen it's inherently beneficial to the sale to do that. Most of the time, the price is reflective. There's other options available. There's a number of other reasons or points that I could point to say, I could emphasize this or I could emphasize that. That lying about the mileage is just, it's not thinking it through. It's not needed. It's not helpful. And to me, really, it's just bad. This one is just bad.
Like I said, this is probably the most nefarious one.
Yeah. For sure.
And then lastly, the one that I come across fairly often is a salesperson lying about the price, but lying about the price like this. They'll say, it's in the computer for $1,000, but I could get it to you for $800. Like, and really and truly, what's happening is it's in the computer for $800.
Yeah. This is kind of somewhat, this was built out of the whole wholesale retail price, right? So this retails for X and I'll sell it to you wholesale for this, those sorts of things like that. But typically, I would prefer us just find a different comparison point, whether it's this is listed new for X or this is a remanufactured part for X, as opposed to having to embellish what's there. I think the desire here is to have the customer feel like you're giving them a deal. The other thing where I think this is fundamentally flawed is the fact that more often than not, when this happens, the salesperson is already negotiating against themselves, which is just a bad tactic. It's not even like the customer is asked for, is that the best you can do or anything like that. This usually is a crutch and is something that is used too often, too frequently. Like if you do this all the time, that customer is going to have heard this line from you other times. Like they know your shtick.
Right.
And it's not really helpful or impactful.
No, it's giving your customer a false sense of the value that you're providing rather than establishing the actual value that you're providing.
Right. Exactly. So there's kind of a deviation of this too. I've seen this as it's the only one I have when there's 5 or 6. And to me, these aren't these are more the white lie variety. It's more, I understand the instinct of what they're trying to do. Like, it's the only one I have, trying to create urgency. It's in the computer for 800, but it's really 700. Trying to give them a sense of value. Those are, at least you're trying to meet a need for the customer in that situation, but you're going about it all the wrong way. Typically speaking, especially though I only have one, just be specific. There's ways to make that true. This is the only one I have with this mileage. It's the only one I have at this price. This is the only one we got in just this week, or whatever. It's the only one often on the shelf. There's a way to add a qualifier there that automatically makes that true, and then you're not even running into this situation where you're fibbing. Okay, so because you don't know, maybe they're looking online, and this happens a lot. They've seen the price online. Oh, you had it listed for that. Why does it show on this for that? So why stick your neck out? What's the benefit of it? What do you think you have to gain there?
Yeah, there's lots of ways to get burned there for sure.
Yeah. Whereas if you just connect with your customer, right, and do a little bit of the qualifying and the legwork that we just covered the last 2 weeks, you'll be able to connect with real value, real quality, something that resonates with your customer, as opposed to something that you're just throwing it out there as a shtick, hoping it'll land. And sometimes it will, but a lot of times it won't, or the repetition of it will give it away to customers.
For sure. So you already kind of started talking about it there, but I do want to make sure that our audience knows what they should be doing instead of telling these lies, because there is something that they could be doing and should be doing instead of kind of falling onto some of these crutches. So let's just start with lying about the price. I mean, I think you said really what we should be doing is establishing the value there by letting them know what it is new, or what the list price is, or how much a reman costs before we give them our used price. Instead of what you said, bargaining against ourselves.
Yeah, I mean, I think overall, to put a bow on this, all of this stems from making the immediate benefit, right? Chasing immediate gratification, immediate sale, over the importance of the relationship, of the built trust, of me as a person. And to me, if you are a competent salesperson, right? If you are capable, you believe you're professional, you believe you have good skills, you say you offer good service, you value your company, you value your product, why do you need to lie, right? Like, when you really think about all the transactions, the invoices, the work orders that we can put out there, man, it's not hard. It's not hard to sell. I mean, you have natural inherent value in product that's desired in the marketplace. And if you want to be longstanding, if you're in this game for anything more than a month, why would you undercut yourself? Why would you undersell yourself, where your trust, your reputation, your service, and especially in a world that's becoming more and more anonymous and less person-to-person oriented, these simple factors of even over the phone lies and fibs, that's all you need to do to lose a customer forever, right? And why risk that? I mean, that the sale in that moment is so rarely important enough that you need to lie or obscure. If anything, I've seen salespeople who have developed trust and relationships over time. Their customers will call them and say, "Hey, I've got this from somebody else for X. I want to see, can you match that? Can you beat that?" That they value the relationship enough with you that they make it a point to save you to be their last call and bring it to you. They're fully honest with you, and you meet their need. And sometimes you say, "Hey, this is the best I can do on this today. I can't go there. But with our trust and our track record, is that enough? I can't always be the cheapest, but I can be the best." And one of my favorite sales manager always says that. It's like, what would you prefer? Would you prefer me? You can have price or service and expertise, right? So if you want me to be the cheapest, I've got to cut corners somewhere. It's either on the product or the service, right? So which of those would you want me to cut on, right? So I want to provide you the service and be able to continue to do that and replace the product and keep going. And so it's important for me that I provide that value, hit those price points for you so that I'm not just here today, but we're here ongoing for the next decade, 2 decades, etc.
For sure.
Okay. So this is very good, Rich. I think those are all very common. Hopefully, all the salespeople, sales managers, owners who are listening to this can relate to that, that there is a lot here. And more often than not, it's trying to address a fairly simple, fairly benign pain point for the salesperson. And more often than not, there's a technique, a tactic, a different element that we can emphasize that this isn't needed, it's not helpful. That we can replace this with. There's actually a better way to go about dealing with some of these objections than the easiest way out is kind of what we're looking for here. So we hope you enjoy that. Again, be on the lookout for our closing sales series for expert and experienced salespeople. So that will be May 13th, 7 to 7:30 a.m., somewhere in there. We'll see what time point works best based on y'all's feedback. And again, you can reach us at any of the links below in the comments and description of the episode. So hope you all are doing well. I just realized this week we have an extra reprieve on tax day this year. So it's not tax day tomorrow. It's May is when the deadline's going to be. So you guys get lucky. We get to enjoy our first tax-free April 15th. So that'll be fun. So Rich, you have a good week, sir.
All right. You too. Take care.